let's dive right in. Today, we're going to explore what you might call a guide for the modern seeker. For anyone out there who's looking for a deeper meaning in this crazy modern world. So, let me ask you something right off the bat. Have you ever had that feeling, that little pull, that deep down sense that you're searching for, well, something more in life? Yeah, if you're nodding your head right now, you are definitely not alone. See, the core idea we're digging into today is that, really, every single one of us is a seeker. But here's the catch, right? Most of us are out there searching, but we're doing it completely without a map. And that brings us to our first big idea, this universal quest. It seems to be a fundamental part of being human, doesn't it? But what is it that we're all actually looking for? Well, if you think about it, a lot of the time it boils down to some pretty common things, right? We're searching for financial well-being, for security, for love, happiness, maybe even acclaim or knowledge or wisdom. The things we want, they're pretty universal. But the path to actually getting them, whoa, that is anything but clear. Okay, so to help us navigate this whole thing, our source material brings up this really fascinating concept. It's called the Book of Life. Now, it's not a real physical book you can pick up. It's more of an idea. The idea that the universe and all our daily experiences, the good, the bad, all of it, they hold a much deeper meaning. The suggestion here is that every single desire we feel is actually our inner self, our spirit, trying to read and make sense of this huge, grand book. So the big question is, how in the world do you read this book? Well, it turns out it requires a completely different kind of vision. A whole new way of seeing things. And this really breaks it down perfectly. On one hand, you've got your physical eyes. They see shapes. They see what's happening on the surface, the mundane day-to-day stuff. But then there's what our source calls the eye of the heart. And that goes so much deeper. It's what deciphers the truth inside of events. It sees the real driving force behind it all. And that's what lets you actually understand and read the Book of Life. So just to be super clear, when we're talking about the eye of the heart, we're really talking about our inner person, our spirit. It's that real living essence that's inside every single one of us. And it's capable of perceiving a world that is just so much larger and more profound than what our 5 physical senses can pick up on. Okay, so how do you know if this inner sight is starting to wake up in you? This quote just puts it perfectly. It says that when everything you see with your physical eyes and all your desires, when they start to remind you of this omnipotence, this huge driving force behind it all, that's the sign. That means the eye of your heart has started to see. But of course, this journey isn't just a walk in the park. It's not that simple. The path of a seeker is absolutely filled with challenges and, yeah, some potential dangers too. And our source is super clear about this one. You have got to watch out for false helpers. You know the type? They show up with erroneous information, they make all these wild claims and promises, and their main goal, it's often to make you dependent on them. So be really, really wary of anyone who advocates for these super stringent controlling rules or someone who tries to intimidate you just for questioning them. And this right here, this is probably the most crucial point of all. Any source that claims it can lift that burden off you, that it can do the heavy lifting for you, you have to immediately recognize that as false. This journey, this path, it's yours, and it is yours alone. So how do you avoid those false paths? Well, it is absolutely essential that you start with a true, solid foundation. Think about it like learning to read. It's a great analogy. You can't just pick up a pen and start writing a novel, right? No way. First, you have to learn the alphabet, the pure, basic foundational concepts. And only once you've got those down can you start forming meaningful words. And then, eventually, you can apply all that to write your own unique story. So, what happens if you skip that step? If you try to build on distorted or misunderstood concepts? Well, the result is pretty much inevitable. You end up with a faulty foundation, and that leads straight to confusion, conflict, and just a total loss of real understanding. And this brings up a huge internal challenge, which is captured perfectly by this ancient piece of wisdom about new wine and old wineskins. The idea is simple. You can't pour new, pure concepts into old, rigid, distorted ways of thinking. The old frameworks they can't handle it. They'll burst. It means you have to be willing to let go of those old ideas to make space for the new. So, all of this, the seeking, the seeing with the heart, building that true foundation, it all leads to one ultimate message from this guide. And that is, the journey is yours. Honestly, if there is just one thing you take away from all this, let it be this. The central, absolute, undeniable message is one of personal responsibility. Plain and simple. No one can walk your path for you. And this quote from Abdurushan just drives that point home so powerfully. Only he who bestirs himself can advance spiritually. It means you have to do it yourself. Relying on extraneous aids is basically like choosing to walk on crutches when you have perfectly healthy limbs of your own. And this brings us to the final call to action. Awake. It's a wake-up call, because genuine faith, it's not about blind belief. Not at all. It's about conviction. And where does conviction come from? Well, as the source makes crystal clear, it comes solely from your own inflexible weighing and examining, your own personal investigation. So we'll leave you with this to think about, to really reflect on. What abilities are lying dormant inside of you right now, just waiting for your call to awaken them?